5 minutes.
I would like clarification from the chairman. Does this mean that there is no correspondence from you to the White House seeking accommodation on this material?
We've had all kinds of correspondence with the White House on this broad subject relative to the dismantled in the letter we got 2 days ago. We've not corresponded with the White House yet.
And
we will, we may. That's a decision we'll make.
And you have not corresponded with the White House seeking accommodation ever since the author who you are subpoenaing and seeking to hold in contempt articulated the view that there was executive interest and potential privilege over this material. You haven't sought to engage over the weeks since you received that communication?
We have not engaged with the White House since the letter on the 25th of this month, 2 days ago.
Welcome back to MAGA Capital, the home of truth, justice, and unapologetic America, first reporting. Before we dive in, hit that like button, subscribe, and share this video, because what you're about to hear exposes the political circus inside our own Congress, and you won't see the mainstream media touching this. Let's talk about the latest showdown in the House Judiciary Committee, and I mean showdown. It was a head-on clash between conservative bulldog Representative Jim Jordan and the left's golden boy, Adam Schiff. It wasn't just a policy debate. It was a complete unraveling of Democrat hypocrisy live on the record. The issue? A subpoena targeting materials held by a private individual. And Adam Schiff, with his usual smug arrogance, tried to trip up Jordan over whether he reached out to the White House for accommodation on these documents. Schiff kept demanding to see correspondence that doesn't even need to exist, because Jordan isn't subpoenaing the White House. He's after a private party. It's not rocket science. But here's the bigger story. Schiff's entire line of questioning is nothing but deflection. He wants to derail the committee's legitimate investigation by nitpicking process while ignoring substance. The Democrats are masters at this. Twist the procedure, drag out the process, and then cry foul when accountability is closing in. Jordan explained clearly. The first time the White House raised concerns was just 2 days ago. Yet Schiff acts like Jordan was supposed to have a sixth sense and write a letter before the issue even came up. You can't make this up. They want Republicans to read minds, but when Democrats violate subpoenas, they pat themselves on the back. And let's not forget the irony of Schiff, a man who defied a subpoena himself, sitting there lecturing Jim Jordan about process. This is the same Adam Schiff who spent years spreading false narratives, orchestrating witch hunts, and lying to the American people. Now he wants to act like a rulebook champion?
Gentleman from California withdraws a point of order who seeks recognition. Gentleman from California is recognized.
Mr. Chairman, much as I don't like certain parts of the Mazars decision, it clearly applies in this case, and the committee is required to engage with the White House in order to seek an accommodation over materials held by a private party, as they were in the Mazars case, and seek to resolve this with the White House. So I would ask unanimous consent that we enter into the record your correspondence to the White House.
No objection.
Seeking to engage them to resolve this. And I thank the chairman for not objecting. Can you produce that correspondence to the White House asking for accommodation on these materials you've sought by this subpoena?
First time they reached out to us was 2 days ago.
Yes, and of course the author expressed the concern that these materials may implicate interests of the executive. I think that was weeks ago. But having admitted without dissent your correspondence to the White House, can you produce that for us where you have sought an accommodation, where you've sought to work this out with the White House? Can you share that with us since that is now part of the record?
Well, I thought you had it. You wanted to enter into the record.
I do. I presume that, knowing your responsibilities, you have sought to engage the White House. So,
Mr. Chairman, point of order.
Produce the
recognized for point of order.
I think a unanimous consent request to submit something to the record is where the person who's asking for the floor is the proponent of submitting information that member has. I don't believe it's appropriate to ask a unanimous consent request to engage in a colloquy over discovering information or obtaining information from another member of the committee.
Great, and that's why I said that no objection to the unanimous consent request. If the gentleman from California wants to talk about that and present it to us, God bless him. He's allowed to do it. So it's 5 minutes.
I would like clarification from the chairman. Does this mean that there is no correspondence from you to the White House seeking accommodation on this material?
We've had all kinds of correspondence with the White House on this broad subject relative to the dismantled in the letter we got 2 days ago. We've not corresponded with the White House yet.
And
we
you've
will,
not-
we may,
and-
that's
and
a
you-
decision we'll make.
And you have not corresponded with the White House seeking accommodation ever since the author who you are subpoenaing and seeking to hold in contempt articulated the view that there was executive interest and potential privilege over this material. You haven't sought to engage over the weeks since you received that communication?
We have not engaged with the White House since the letter on the 25th of this month, 2 days ago.
And prior to that time, did you engage the White House in an effort to obtain
All
these
kinds of
materials?
engagements with our counsel and counsel, both
I'm talking about
Justice Department and White House with our counsel over the last several months relative to the
I'm
special
talking about
counsel
this
FERS
subpoena,
report.
Mr. Chairman. Did you engage with the White House at any time in the last several weeks since issuing this subpoena, the one you want to hold this witness in contempt for? Did you ever engage with the White House in an effort to accommodate, an effort to reach an agreement, an effort to prevent this from having to be litigated? Did you ever write any correspondence, make any call to the White House seeking to engage, seeking to get these materials that you're seeking from the author instead from the White House? Did you ever do that, Mr. Chairman?
We're seeking documents from a private individual who I might add tried to destroy the
So I
evidence
guess
that
the
we are
question is,
seeking.
I guess the answer is no.
Since
I
2
guess
days
the answer is no.
The answer is since 2 days ago, I have not.
I'm not asking the
sought-
question about since 2 days ago, although nothing
That's when they first raised the concern.
Nothing prevented you from writing a letter within the last 2 days or reaching out to the White House before this.
Now you want me to be clairvoyant and read the White House's mind and write a letter before they tell us something?
Nothing prevented you from seeking these
gentleman
materials
from
from the White
California
House
is known for
months, Mr. Chairman. For months.
I'm not a mind reader.
And
I don't know what
I thank you for making a very clean record for any court that will look at this.
The gentleman from North Carolina
sought
said
an accommodation
months ago the
at
White House
all
could have raised the
to
concern,
obtain-
and they
to obtain these
didn't.
documents, because your first move, of course, is to go right to contempt. Ironically, of course, for a chairman who was in contempt of his own subpoena.
Point of order, Mr.
We're still
Chairman.
waiting for you to testify and meet the obligations of your own subpoena, Mr. Chairman. But nevertheless, I appreciate you're making such a clean record for any court in this case that you have never sought an accommodation, never written to the White House, never called the White House, never had a communication with the White House in order to obtain these materials as part of an accommodation. Thank you for that very clean record for the court, and I yield back.
Gentleman yields back. Who seeks recognition?
What you're seeing is a desperate attempt to cover for something much deeper. The Democrats' fear of what this committee might uncover. And instead of cooperating, they stall, they scream, and they attack Republicans who are doing their job. Jim Jordan handled this with absolute class. He didn't take Schiff's bait. He laid out the facts, exposed the grandstanding, and made it clear that this committee is after the truth, no matter how uncomfortable it makes the left. This isn't just about subpoenas or documents. It's about restoring accountability in Washington. If we don't hold people responsible now, when will we? The American people are fed up with the lies, the delays, and the endless excuses. We're done waiting. We want results. We want justice. And we want fighters like Jim Jordan leading that charge. So if you're tired of watching Democrats weaponize process to protect their own, if you want real oversight and real consequences, then support this movement. Share this video. Drop your thoughts in the comments. And don't forget to subscribe to MAGA Capital, where we call out the games and stand tall for truth. Stay alert, stay patriotic, and stay in the fight. This isn't over. It's just getting started.